You're muted, dude. What are you doing?
Oh, my word. This is the professional show. For those of you who are tuning in, hello and welcome to For Future Generations, episode 64. It is the 24th of May. We are glad to have you all along. We got a stacked show, so we're going to try and blow through it kind of quick. But a lot of interesting stuff going on, a lot of bad stuff going on, but some good stuff too. So we're going to cover it all. I am Jeffwa. I'm joined, as always, by my wonderful friend, Sean. Sean, how are you, man?
I'm doing okay. I was telling you I had about 100 feet in this direction, had a lightning strike come down, and so that was pretty wild. That was like maybe 20-ish minutes ago. So pretty wild
stuff. If something happens and Sean cuts off, you know, that's just God's way of letting him know it's time for him to go to bed. Because short show for him tonight.
Yeah, the big sleep in the sky.
Yeah, but the permanent nighty
the saints' everlasting rest.
But with that being said, folks, we're glad to have you all along with us, and we've got a lot of interesting things going on. We're going to cover the recent developments in the Chud the Builder case, the shenanigans, the absolute travesty that his trial has already evidenced itself to be. I mean, already just right off the bat, we can tell there is not going to be any kind of justice coming out of these courts, not if they continue to behave the way they're behaving right now. And unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any brakes on that train. We're also going to cover a little bit of Thomas Massie autopsy. He's out. He lost his race. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, does it really matter? Because it is what it is, you know. And then also just some news and some examples after we talk about Chud the Builder. Some examples of the two-tier policing, the unequal weights and measures, which is the name of the show, Dishonest Weights and Measures. You know, the inequality that we have in the justice system in the United States, in the UK, in Europe, in the West largely, that we are in an occupied nation. We are second-class citizens in our own countries. So we'll cover that as well. And it will be a little bit dark. It will be a little bit heavy, but needs to be said. But before we get into all that, we have a message from our sponsors. And our sponsors, of course, are Deusvelt lapel pins. And we want to say a special thank you to Deusvelt lapel pins for sponsoring this show. Use the code FFGDV26 for 10% off your order at checkout. And he is back from vacation and the stuff is back in stock. Hey, you guys, those of you who've been wanting those Anglo-Saxon cross pins, they are back. Go get yourself one of these gorgeous cross pins. I mean, look at that. It looks like that is, full disclosure, that is not a ruby in the middle of this pin. But if you wore it to church, nobody would know. You know, it looks nice. Get yourself a bumper sticker, put that on the back of your truck, you know, let people know that you are a Texas patriot. Dude, doesn't that look great? And then new release here, Post Tenebris Lux, a little banner pin. Out of much darkness, light comes. So if that's your thing, White Boy Summer coming up. A little bit of a Jerusalem Cross camo.
Wait, are the White Boy Summer 1183 ones back in stock?
They are back in stock. Grab one now.
Oh, dude, our sponsor is like the worst at like reaching out
letting you know
about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you had clicked that notify me button, you would have got a text message. Because that's how I know, is he's got it set up to where it'll text you. This Jerusalem Cross in camo, don't tell anybody, but that camo looks suspiciously a lot like kind of stained glass in the back. So to me, that looks, I mean, very churchy, very kind of crossing the streams there. And the Aranya Azure butterfly pin. And we will be discussing that topic a little bit later on in this show. So really, really great stuff. The 250 is still not in stock. Guys, click this notify me button. I've got to get one of these before the middle of next month. So please, please, please notify. Let him know that the 250 is out of stock and that you want one, because boy, I need one. Come on, guys. get in there, help me out, help a brother out, will you? But with that said, folks, go to daysvoltlapelpins.com stroke FFGDV26. Link is in the description. You can click it there, or you can use this 10% off code here. But we appreciate Days Volt Lapel Pins for sponsoring the show. With that said, let's get into it. So, Sean, been a pretty crazy week, and lots going on, but some good stuff. You mentioned to me that we need to start the show with good news, and boy, do we have some good news. Just in, Bolt CEO Ryan Breslaw fired the company's entire HR team because they were, quote, creating problems that didn't exist. Sean, have you ever worked somewhere with an HR department that just created problems?
I'm sure every white man in America has.
Yeah. I mean, our podcast does not have an HR department. And even if we eventually got to the point where we had employees, I don't think I would institute one, because I have worked with HR departments. Thank God I work somewhere right now that does not have an HR department. We don't have enough employees to merit an HR department. And boy,
HR departments,
so glad.
HR departments exist to protect the company, not the employee.
Exactly. Yeah,
So-
yeah. It's they're called human resources, but while they are resourceful, they are not very human in my experience. So yeah, just the whole thing gone. Just murdered in the cradle, strangled, gone. And boy, oh boy, is that a fun feeling. And kind of like that meme, right? God, I've seen what you've done for other people, and I wish that you'd do that for me. Right, guys.
Yep.
It is possible. Pray that God will destroy your HR department, and he just might step in and save you. But in other fun news, I was just scrolling Facebook here recently, and boy, did this have an interesting effect on me. This is from Traces of War. Don't know who they are, but here is just a Confederate battle flag flying at a German train station. And he says, rockabilly, ? Whatever that's supposed to mean. But that's just really cool. Just really cool to see, weird stuff going on overseas, other people repping our stuff. But, they can't fly their flag. So I guess they fly ours. Yeah, I guess that's how that
I'm
works.
curious. A lot of people on the other side of the Atlantic will use that as Southern in like any capacity. Like I forget what country some people were saying that they had visited, like in the
Balkans, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was the Balkans
heard that
or something like that.
Too.
And it was like whatever Southern part of the country or something, they all flew that flag because they were like, oh, it means Southern pride, right? So they just started doing that, and so it's made its mark all over the world for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know what this particular gentleman means.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's outside of a German train station, so like some sort of official capacity. I mean, it looks actually like it's on a guy's house across from the train station, but this might also have something to do there. But I also, it reminds me of that Reddit post where a guy was like, he was visiting Iceland, and he was just in a kind of a souvenir shop. He goes in and there's a guy there selling patches, morale patches, and one of them's a Confederate flag. He's like, where I come from, this stands for racism and hate. And the guy says, well, we're not where you come from.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah. So get over yourself. Very fun.
You know what else it reminds me? My buddy was telling me that he saw this guy with like a big old like jacked up truck, and the window decal on the back was SPQR.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, now I know what that means, And I'm sure he knows what that means, but I don't know what he means by having them because we are not in Rome like currently.
Yeah. Is this just him being like, dude, I'm a real big fan of the Senate? Like, what is
and the people of Rome?
Yeah, the people of Rome. Like, what is it exactly that he's trying to say here? But
he's for the Senate and people of Rome, I guess.
I guess so. But yeah, let your geek flag fly. And speaking of letting your flags fly, Patriot Front has been spotted in Virginia Beach, and boy, look at those flags. First off,
I saw hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some Patriot Front flyers out in the wild in what city was I in? I was in Cleburne, Texas.
Cleburne,
yeah. Cleburne has a great mural of like, I guess, different things that they're famous for. And like in the very middle is like an oval shaped thing with like a 3/4 turn of Pat Cleburne.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so cool, dude. Like, so yeah, they're big. And like the lake out there is Lake Pat Cleburne. It's not just Lake Cleburne, it's Lake Pat Cleburne. Like they're big on being named Cleburne. So like saw some Patriot Front stuff out in the wild out there, and I was like, okay, we got some shooters out here.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, so I know a lot of people say, oh, Patriot Front, they're all feds. And every time people are like, oh, they're going to get shut down by the FBI, they're all feds. Their argument is always, well, they're obviously feds because they're not obese and they know how to walk in a straight line. And I mean, Sean, how hard is it to teach people to not be obese and walk in a straight line?
Well, the U.S. Army can do it in under 2 months. So
yeah, and they can do it with the dregs of society too. So I mean, that's I mean, guys, come on, you're going to have to pull out more than that. But these guys seem to be patriots, and they don't seem to be a front, despite the interesting choice of name.
I will say this is why I shared this post with you, is because this isn't just, like it's not a train station in Germany. It's not like somewhere random. This is in Virginia. This is in the Old Dominion. All right. Virginia is the battleground. It was the battleground during the war. It's the political battleground now.
It is. It's the front lines.
Yeah. So like, I'm just excited to see that happening. If your argument is these are feds trying to honeypot or whatever, you see that what they have to appeal to, right? That is always a good sign as well. If they're appealing to the, pro-Israel version of the Republican Party, then that's what's popular. That's what they're trying to go after. So I think of when the Apostle Paul says that, as long as the gospel is preached and God is glorified, like, I'm happy. I know it was worded better than that, but that's how I feel seeing this flag. If I see this flag flying, I don't care if you mean it to revile us or you mean it to celebrate us. I'm seeing that flag fly.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it. I'm real happy to see it. And speaking of flags, the Patriot Front flag with the 13 stars and the fascia there in the middle, that is a really cool design, and I kind of like it. So I'm not a member of the Patriot Front, but I would happily fly that flag because I just kind of like everything about it. I mean, it's a good moral lesson. I mean, it harkens back to our history. It talks about the history of Rome, the history of the United States, which is the new Rome. The 13 stars of the original 13 colonies, and then some red and white stripes just to bring it all together. I love it. I like it a lot. So moving on now for something totally different. Massey, at his election, or at his election loss, during his announcement, during his concession speaks,
all right. Listen, I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrein in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, so some gentle ribbing about the fact that this guy's completely bought and paid for. And he just says, I would have come out sooner, had to call my opponent to concede, and it took a while to find him in Tel Aviv. And good old Senator Ted Cruz just reposts the video and says, I wish he hadn't said this. That's all. That's all he says is, I wish he hadn't said this. Not, oh, that's a low blow, or, that's so racist. Just, I wish he hadn't said this.
Just, golly gee willikers, I'd really support him if he hadn't said something about my supporters.
I would have campaigned for him if he hadn't said this.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Of course, yeah. But Thomas Massey responded, you wish I hadn't pointed out that 95+% of my opponent's funding came from the Israel lobby, and 1 million of that came from a woman who has Israeli citizenship and served in the IDF. Sorry for your feels, Ted.
Hey-o! Got him on that one.
Yeah. So sorry for your feels. And, people posting interesting things in the comments. Very, very bizarre stuff. Very, very bizarre.
I love this website. Oh my goodness.
Just a little bit of some autopsy report on what happened in his race. So people quickly pointed out that the numbers really don't make a lot of sense. When you look at the numbers, more people voted in his specific race, and he's a congressman, than voted in the Senate race. Well, that's odd. When you see that where there's a bunch of people voting in one specific race but not in the general, that's usually a sign that there's voter fraud going on. And this person coming out is just saying, this shows House and Senate race totals. How likely is it that there were more votes for House in every single county than there were for Senate? Did that many people, 5,000 plus, really only come in for the House race? Can someone explain? And yeah, that is suspicious.
Possible. I think here's the thing, dude. Mm-hmm. That was a race that got national and apparently international attention. That was a very important race. Like it was really the first time that Massey has been threatened.
They've tried to primary him every single time. The Republicans have, and he has won by 80% plus of the vote in the primaries. So this is the first time it was close. That's true, but it's not the first time it's been tried, and it's not the first time that they dumped a bunch of money into it either. They've been trying to get rid of him ever since he ran. But this is the first time it got national attention. It's the most expensive House race in history. Most expensive non-presidential election probably ever. I mean, this is just insane. And then, here's another guy posting, Massey loses after 2026 vote total more than doubles the 2024 total. And it shows in 2024, he got 40,000 votes. In 2026, he got 48,000 votes. His opponent in 24 got 13,000 votes. His opponent in 2026 got 58,000 votes. So that is a huge, huge vote increase. And you notice not only is it an increase overall, but it's also an increase in Massey votes. I mean, he got nearly 10,000 more votes, roughly 8,000 more votes than he did last time. And this is a small constituency, right? This is a congressional race. And then the total votes were 53,000 to 105,000. So it more than doubled, or very, very close to double. It's 100.3% statistically. So, it wasn't that he lost any votes. His vote went up by 19%. It's just that his opponent's vote, his challenger vote, went up by 356.6%. I mean, that's really really bizarre. Really bizarre. Now, the other thing to notice is that
I was
there
like,
were.
what is this profile here? Jesus Christ videos.
Yeah, I
what
don't
is
know.
this?
I don't watch his videos. They have 425 free videos about the end of the world. So I mean, just like okay,
Wow.
bud. But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of person you'd expect to be peddling this kind of information. This is true information, by the way. But what these people are getting at is that this was a fraudulent vote, that it was stolen. And Thomas Massey comes out. He says, there's a quiet, all-out war for the future of our country. Let us not misdirect our precious resources. I do not believe I lost due to fraudulent votes, mail-in ballots, hacking, or mistabulated results. I respect those who want to make sure, but I won't be requesting a recount. And very good point. Very good point. All right. But, you know, him saying, I don't think we lost because of fraudulence is not because there isn't circumstantial evidence of fraudulent behavior. Mail-in ballots that seemingly all went one direction. The extreme bifurcation of the vote, where only the old people voted for Ed Galrain and all of the young people voted for Thomas Massey. It's very odd. Very odd. A lot of strange things going on. But I just want to say that if you, Mr. Republican, if you Republican voter, think that the 2020 election was stolen by Joe Biden away from Donald Trump, all of the evidence that you used to support that argument is also true in this instance. So either both or neither. Take your stand here, folks, because anyway, had some closing thoughts on Thomas Massey in Congress. He was great. I really liked him. He was not perfect. His border positions were bad. He's kind of an open borders guy. He's a libertarian. He's not real good on the nationalism stuff, but what he is really good on is the fact that we can't just spend ourselves into oblivion. The check is going to come due, and we don't have the pay. We don't have the money to pay it, and the creditors are going to come knocking, and that's going to be a bad day for everybody. But Sean, you pointed out something about him getting out in the group chat. You just mentioned, he's not on any committees. He's going to essentially be a lame duck. He's going to be a yay or nay vote on the floor. He's going to have no effect other than that. So,
well, my biggest point with that is that you're right. He's either a yay or nay vote. He's not a committee guy. He's very good on social. Like if you follow him, you can fairly immediately find what's wrong with a bill, because he's the only guy pointing out like little things like that. Him and Rand Paul, ironically.
Yeah, and he's the only guy reading the bills in a lot of cases.
Yeah, so I liked him for that reason. I thought he was kind of a more like what the founders envisioned liberalism to actually be like in America. I would say Thomas Massey is that guy. He's very like pro-liberty, all that stuff. That's great, right? I'm all for that. The problem is that you're right. He was just a yay or nay vote, and a lot of the times he would not vote with the Republicans. And so my take on Thomas Massey is that he is a man who is more or less ahead of his time. I feel that way about Rand Paul as well. When they won't just like fall in line and be a guy who can get the victories, it's kind of a wasted vote. And so this new guy, he's a Israeli shill. We all know that. I'm not fighting that. But he's going to vote yes when Donald Trump needs him to vote yes in order to move the ball forward. And
yeah, when the party whip shows up at his office door and says, "Hey, we need you to vote this away," he's going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because ironically, he's a spineless coward. He can actually be forced to vote the way that the Republicans need him to vote.
Well, if the spineless coward is going to do what the people elect him to do, I mean, it's kind of what I want at the moment.
Yeah,
because
I mean, you don't have to be a hero.
Thomas Massey, yeah, every single fight is just this completely reevaluating everywhere you stand from first principles, every single vote with Thomas Massey. Everything is, let me reconsider what 14th century political theory says about whatever. And like it's too much. Everything is like, what is the on paper liberty answer to this? And unfortunately, at the moment, what we actually need, what conservatives need, is a guy who's going to vote yes when he needs to vote yes and no when he needs to vote no. We need those numbers. And Thomas Massey was just kind of a neutral. He might as well have been a third party, is I guess where I'm trying to go. He didn't toe the party line in any meaningful way. And so it was kind of like, well, we know we've got a Republican votes. Maybe we'll get the Massey vote. We get it like, what, 9 out of 10 times, I think, is his record. He gets about 90% with Republicans, which, I mean, greatest of all time if you're talking about batting averages, but not super helpful if you're talking about
party
your
politics,
voting record. Yeah. So for that reason, I'm glad he's gone. Maybe we can get someone better next time who's not an Israeli shill, but also knows how to vote yes when the people tell him to vote yes. I don't know, man.
Yeah, and it's really a tragedy of the fact that we do not have a parliamentary system in our government. You know, if we had a parliamentary system, we could have people like Thomas Massey be a third party, and it would be an effective third party that would have to be courted. You know, the large parties would have to court the decisions of the lesser parties, you know, to form coalitions. But we really don't have that. We have a two-party system, and the two-party system requires that one of the parties just be really powerful and really just push their way through, and might makes right. And, you know, unfortunately, like you said, you know, he's ahead of his time. I think in a way, actually, he's kind of behind the times because, like you mentioned, you know, he's what the founders envisioned. But our country is not what the founders envisioned.
Yeah.
And you got to dance with the girl you brought. And the girl we brought has got some miles on her, man.
I don't know, man. Some of those wallflowers are looking pretty tempting at the moment.
Looking really nice right now.
Yeah.
I mean, what's you know, America's in rough shape, and the Libertarian Party, I really respect their principles, but they're not aware to the fact that the United States is not what it was when it was founded. We've come a long way, not in a good way.
Yeah.
So, is he ahead of his time? Is he behind the times? Who knows? People at his concession speech were chanting Massey 28. You know, they want him to run for president. Guys, if you know who can take him out in a congressional race in Northern Kentucky, where he's from, he can't win a presidential race. Because if you think the Jews control the congressional races, but we're going to win the presidential with the same guy, guys, you can't have it both ways, okay?
You got to dance with the Jew that has a gun to your head, okay?
Yeah, you got to dance with the Jew that has the money, okay? But all jokes aside,
you can't afford to pay the piper otherwise, okay?
Right.
You have to use the Jew money. Dang it.
Yeah.
Use the Jew money to pay the Dane Guild, and then you'll be good. All right. It all comes full circle.
It all comes full circle. Well, with that said, let's get into comments. And Sean, you want to hit the comments?
Sure. Let's see. Okay for Christians. I will be your HR department.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. You should be our advertising department. The OK lockers have been crushing Twitter for like the last 2 weeks or so. It's just
2
been
years.
Everyone's talking about.
Well,
it's just there's been an uptick. There's been a recent uptick. Yeah. He can say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even
don't ask about
pull it up." Yeah. I've been to Iceland 3 times. Trust me, they're more ethnocentric than North America. That's cool. What do we got going on here with the profile picture? Is this like Robin Hood as
Robin Hood
Bird?
as I think an English Robin is what's going on, actually.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Reasonable Thinker says Chud is a political prisoner. Yeah, hard to argue with that. The guy who we'll get to Chud later.
Mhm.
John C. Barsoom says, "Happy Lord Day, gents. Happy Lord's
Day.
Yes, sir. Reasonable Thinker said, "Whose kid is screaming?" At that moment,
That would be mine.
It was Jeff's. Yeah.
Yeah, we have, dude. I tell you what, my infant has the strongest pair of lungs that God ever created.
Yeah.
And I am going deaf. And I'm not even joking. I am measurably losing my hearing because of this child, and I do not know what to do. Yeah. So say a prayer for me, guys. Say a prayer for me. And say a prayer for my poor wife.
Yeah. Reformed Rogue says, "Good to see an HR department bite the dust. Always. Always, always." He continues, Deo Vindicae. Let's go.
Deo Vindicae. Amen.
And we got Reasonable Thinker says, "Feds spot in Virginia." I didn't understand these couple. If you want to chime in real quick.
Yeah, he's just saying the feds, the Patriot Front are feds is what he's saying. Feds spotted in Virginia Beach. Yeah.
Well, then he says Black Panthers did it.
Black Panthers did what? Flew the Confederate flag?
It's definitely not. Yeah, I mean, it's
doubt. Press X to doubt.
Yeah, Black Panthers are mainly out of Oakland, so I don't really. I mean, I know they became nationwide, but they were out of Oakland, so I don't.
Is he saying they were supported by the feds?
I have no idea. That's why I'm saying, like,
yeah, I don't know what you're saying, Reasonable Thinker. Be a little bit more obtuse or precise, perhaps.
Yeah,
in
less
what you're less obtuse and more precise, more acute.
There you go. NJH Productions 512. What is all that? Boy, that's a lot going on there. He says, "Good evening, Patriots." Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I would like to know what all that stands for, if you don't mind. I
think I know what the N stands for.
Ooh, okay. Is it two different groups that he hates? Is that what we're going for? It's N and J Hate Productions 512. I don't know. Anyways, sorry, Eric Skeens, but I got your thing up while I'm talking about some goofy stuff. But brothers, we just found out that my wife is pregnant with our second child. There's no issues as of yet, but it is still comforting to know that righteous men are praying for the little one's vitality. That is awesome news.
God bless you, Eric.
To see it, man.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, very. Yeah, I mean, that's really the best. That's always the best thing that I can hear from somebody is, wife's pregnant, or I guess I'll say the best news I can get is, hey, I got this woman pregnant on purpose. That's kind of the way that I'll frame it, because sometimes that's not the case. But continuing on, Reasonable Thinker says Marjorie Greene was considered 99% constitutional as well. They both were put out. Actually, Marjorie Taylor Greene was 0% constitutional if you take away the 19th Amendment. So,
correct. Yeah.
Let's.
The thing is, Marjorie Greene and Thomas Massey are not comparable on many levels. First off, he was very principled and she was very catty. I mean, she got into fights with people because she didn't like them, even people that she agreed with on issues. Looking at the way that she behaved, one would assume, just for whatever reason, I'm not saying I believe this, but they would assume, man, maybe women shouldn't be in politics. That's the kind of behavior that was normal from Marjorie Greene. And that's not to say she didn't do some good things, but if you elected a horse to that position or a cat, maybe it would have done some good things too, but that doesn't make an argument for electing cats and horses to Congress.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Reasonable Thinker qualifying what he had said earlier. Black Panthers got guys to march and be in shape. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a low bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Most guys that care about their race in any way want to be a good billboard for their race, and so they're not going to be fat bodies and whatnot. Yellow Moth says, I used to think Patriot Front were feds. Now I think they're legit. Their leader was on iHypocrite's show, and he made some really good points. I have not seen that. I didn't know that happened, but I have met some Patriot Front guys in real life. They have visited my church, and we, said who they were, and so I got to meet some of them and talk with them. And I think they're legit. I don't know why their behavior doesn't make sense as far as like trying to undermine a movement, which is the only thing the feds would do to get involved anyways.
So Patriot Front, and I've got a little bit of inside baseball here because I'm friends with people who know the people who started it. Patriot Front was started by a couple of guys who definitely were feds, were definitely honeypots and had ties to the feds, things that were proven in court later. But they were suspected of it from the very beginning. But this Rousseau guy who took over, he did a hostile takeover of the entire movement and kicked out the Fed boys. And they were absolutely pissed when it happened. I mean, they were stinking mad, as one would be. So the idea that it used to be a Fed honeypot, but now it's safe. I mean, it's a dangerous position because it means, there's probably still some hangers on. It's probably still a boat with a lot of leaks in it. But Rousseau seems to really run a tight ship, and he's put in a lot of rules that protect them from honeypot efforts. Like, Ruby Ridge was started because he cut a couple, like half an inch too much off of the end of a shotgun.
Because they asked him to keep going.
And he asked him to keep going, and he didn't. Eventually they're like, aha, we got you. Now you have to be an informant or we're going to charge you with a federal crime for cutting too much off the shotgun. And he said, screw you, come get me. And they did. So that's how Ruby Ridge happened. Well, Rousseau has instituted rules about the Patriot Front that make it illegal to even discuss firearms with each other. So if you are into firearms, you're not even allowed to discuss it with members in any sort of official or non-official capacity because it's against the rules of the organization. And that's a way of him protecting them from the ATF and getting infiltrated by the feds, because that's one of the easiest ways for the feds to infiltrate an organization. So, I mean, illicit drugs are not allowed. I have heard people say, although I can't verify, that, they get drug tested when they have to join. And if they pop hot on anything, then they're banned for life. Now, is that internet rumor? Who knows? But, he seems to run a tight ship. So that's my 2 cents on them.
I will say this. If Patriot Front are feds, then a lot of people are feds. Like a lot of people that a lot of you say that I shouldn't hate are feds. So, I mean, I don't know what to think of that. You're saying something was proven in court. We could talk about that some other time off air, but I've never. I don't know. I mean,
some specific people were proven to have been informants in court.
Oh, okay.
Like court documents were released in which they were informing, which is what these people are worried about, which is what people mean when they say Fed. They're calling you not necessarily like, I filled out an application form and I've worked for the FBI for 10 years, but like, I got a check for $5,000 because I gave names and addresses to the feds. That kind of a thing. All right. One last comment. And we've got Reasonable Thinker says, congratulations, Eric. Yes, Eric, congratulations on the baby. And hope that, we hope and we pray that all goes well. But with that said, let's get into the topics for tonight. Kind of a longer intro there. Nearly 1/3 of the whole show. But Dishonest Weights and Measures. And the thumbnail says, a racial injustice. That's that's what I'm going to call it, because that's what it looks like to me, is that there is a 2-tier racial injustice system in the United States. But Chud the Builder is a big case right now. Lots of people talking about it, lots of people noticing. And there's this guy on Twitter, Archetype Theory, his handle Alpha Omega Operation Free Dalton Chud the Builder. He sets himself up as the official place to go for all of the news that has to do with Chud the Builder. I don't know if he's got an inside scoop, if he actually is representing the family, but that's what he says. And one thing I do know is he definitely seems to have more information than a lot of other people on Twitter do. But here he is. He's updating us with the facts. You can find this at his page, Archetype Theory, at Archetype Theory. But he's just letting us know that there have been false and deliberate attempts to stall his ability to defend himself. Here are some Give, Send, Go links to help him. There's 2 different ones. I don't know why, but there are 2 different ones. The hearing is scheduled for Friday, March 29th, and is specifically about approving the source of the bail funds. So you remember last week, we had Ethan on to sub out for Sean. Ethan, thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. And we talked about the fact that he was given a $1,250,000 bail. Unprecedented. $1.25 million bail. And people who have committed way worse crimes got, pennies on the dollar comparatively. Well, he started a Give, Send, Go account, and people have been donating to it. And, if we just click on this real quick and we look at it, he's asking to raise $20,000, and he's raised 19. All right. So he's almost there. He's almost there. Well, here's the other one, asked to raise 100,000, and he's raised, if I'm seeing that number right, $274,000. All right. So he's doing all right as far as raising money, but he's still pretty far from this $1.25 million that's required. And the court is trying to figure out, okay, is he allowed to use this Give, Send, Go money? And you remember when we had this in Texas, where at the track meet, this young man was stabbed to death by a DeCarlos Brown, or no, not DeCarlos. I'm getting my black murderers confused. But whatever his name, Trayvon Martin III. The guy who murdered the track meet kid.
Yeah.
He raised all of this money on Give, Send, Go or GoFundMe or whatever. And people were asking, hey, should he be allowed to use that money? And the court said, well, we don't care where the money comes from. He just has to have it. Well, all of a sudden, they're changing their tune. All of a sudden, if it's a white guy who's trying to defend himself, now the source of the money actually matters.
Funny that.
And under Tennessee law, the source can inquire into the source of bail funds to ensure they are not derived from illegal activity. Okay, so last time I checked, GoFundMe was not illegal. But says legal standard is narrow. They can't refuse because they dislike the person's politics or content. However, the DA does not need to win the source hearing to achieve the goal. Requesting a source hearing creates delay. The court schedules it. The surety process financial records. The DA cross-examines. This can push release back by weeks. So essentially, they're keeping Chud in jail for weeks because they're wanting to, the process is the punishment. They're wanting to punish him. And, the DA has used this mechanism to block the first bonding company already. So already they tried to post bond and he blocked them. So, this guy's just saying, hey, support, do what you can, share the message, follow his account if you're interested. I'm not going to follow his account just because I don't follow every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I only follow about 500 accounts, and I keep it that way because otherwise it's too hectic. But give him a follow. He seems to be a good guy. And here's another update. Affidavit of the complainant was made public. Andrew Bronca, self-defense law attorney, broke it down. No racial slur alleged. None. So they didn't even say he called me the N-word. The state's affidavit contains not one word of earthly provoking Fox with a slur. That was the biggest threat to his self-defense claim, and it's gone. Now, I don't know if it's gone, but at least it's not in the affidavit. Affidavit describes zero criminal conduct. Not one sentence states what he did that was unlawful. Verbal altercation is not a crime, at most a misdemeanor that would apply equally to both of them. Neither have been charged with it. Bladed stance is not a crime. Taking a defensive posture against an angry antagonist is legal. Reached for his firearm is not a crime. Preparing to defend yourself is legal. A physical altercation ensued is written in the passive voice. The state does not allege Earthly started it. By omission, the inference points to Fox as the initiator. That's right, because this is a charge against Earthly, who we will call Chud. Etherly, sorry. But since this affidavit is about Chud, and it says a physical altercation ensued, by inference, it's saying that Fox, the man who got shot, was the perpetrator. Quote, discharged his firearm, striking Fox multiple times is not necessarily unlawful. Ricocheting rounds near bystanders is not a crime. Absent recklessness, the affidavit alleges no recklessness. Lawful self-defense shots are, as a matter of law, not reckless. Affidavit does not contest any elements of self-defense, neither his innocence, imminence, proportionality, avoidance, or reasonableness, not a single one. So essentially, he's been charged with attempted murder, aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, employing a firearm during a dangerous felony, and yet no felony has actually been alleged in this affidavit. No crime has been alleged. So they're charging him with a crime without actually saying what the crime was. Bronca's, his final verdict, his say was, quote, hard to recall the last time I saw an affidavit of complaint so utterly lacking in legal substance, end quote. He sees no realistic path to conviction but beyond a reasonable doubt on these facts. So obviously that's not saying that he couldn't be railroaded. But if this affidavit is what we're going to be seeing, I mean, they're going to have a really hard case on their hands. They're not alleging that he initiated the altercation. They're not even alleging that he called him any kind of racial slur. They're just saying that he was there, they had a verbal disagreement, and then he defended himself with a weapon. Pretty cut and dry. Got anything to say there, Sean?
No, I mean, I think you've covered it. It's so cut and dry for reasonable people that it's, I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, like what's
the
purpose of this?
The guy that came after him, he saw Chud streaming, or somebody tipped him off, and he drove to go find him.
Yeah.
So what gets me about this is if he had not defended himself, like say, the black guy like just beat him up and left, they'd be hooping and hollering about, oh, F around and find out, right? Well, then, black guy drives to where he's at so he can attack him, gets shot for his troubles, and suddenly, let me clutch my pearls. It's such, I mean, we all know it's a hypocritical way of thinking. Everyone knows that it is. It doesn't help our cause at all pointing that out, because these aren't logical people. These aren't triple digit IQ people who can understand that logical inconsistency is a bad thing.
And even if they were, so many of these people are bad people. You know, they're intentionally malicious. So, I mean, even if even if these people have the mind to think about what's going on, they want to cause bad things to happen. For instance, right here, yesterday the judge lowered Dalton Earthley's bond from $1,250,000 to $1 million. So all the public hue and cry, all the "this is so unjust," like, okay, I'll shave $250,000 off of your $1.25 million, just down to $1 million. You know, the very achievable number of $1 million.
Just a single million.
It's just $1 million. Everybody's got $1 million. I mean, Sean, come on, what's $1 million between friends?
Oh, that's nothing. I mean, that's only like 1/6 of the Holocaust, right? I mean,
shoot. I mean, hey, that's nothing. Literally,
you could hit $1 million with like 2 ovens.
So, as he points out here, this is again the archetypal theory guy. This is still higher than every single murder defendant in Montgomery County under DA Robert Nash. So every single murder, all right, keep in mind Fox, the guy who got shot in the stomach, he's not dead. And he's not going to die. I mean, he's in stable condition. He's been released from the hospital. He's doing fine. All right? This is higher than every single murder defendant in Montgomery County under this DA. A man who confessed to raping and murdering a 9-month-old baby got $100,000. Confessed to raping and murdering a 9-month-old baby got a $100,000 bond. A man with 4 separate murder cases across 3 years got $2,500. A man arrested on new felony charges while already out on bond for first-degree murder got $100,000. A convicted felon who committed a double murder got $750,000. That's the only number so far that's been even close. $750,000. And he killed 2 people while being a convicted felon. Chud didn't even kill anybody. Combined prior violent felonies among those defendants, 6. Combined prior felonies of any kind, 11. Chud has no priors at all. No prior convictions.
See, now I saw somebody commenting, and by somebody I mean like just a black guy on Twitter who's like, "Nah, but what about these numbers?" But he was saying that what was actually going on with that bail amount was that Chud had a history within the last 2 years in Tennessee law. Is that where they're at, Tennessee?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tennessee law was saying that like you have to double the amount that it otherwise would be or something like that. Like that was the argument being made. But though that's what it's saying, prior record did not matter until this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying like now it matters. So basically the judge was not following that law until Etherly. I'm assuming Etherly. I think I've heard that name before. I don't think I've ever heard Etherly or.
Yeah, I'm not real sure how to pronounce it. I've only ever heard him called Chud, and it's only
with a W.
Documents.
With a W, it would definitely be Weatherly. I know that's a last name. That's in my family line. So I mean, I know that that's a name. So I'm just going to go with Etherly.
Sounds good to me. We'll call him Etherly. But yeah. I mean, this is unconscionable. This is obviously not. This is obviously not just. I don't think anybody with 2 eyes and a brain could consider that this was just. And if you, for some reason, are thinking that maybe, just possibly there could be legal reasons why, judge orders gag order on Chud the Builder. Prohibits Chud from live streaming or making social media posts while the case is ongoing. So this guy who makes a living by posting on social media, you can't post about the trial. You can't post at all while the case is ongoing.
I mean, in fairness, the only thing he ever posts is getting into squabbles with blacks. Like,
yeah,
I mean, and it's great content. Don't get me wrong. Like, I fully support his content, but like, come on, dude. Like, what's he gonna do? How is he not going to talk about the case while he's doing the very thing that got him into the case?
Well, I mean, the case is a self-defense shooting.
I agree, but I'm just saying, like, from a self-preservation standpoint, he shouldn't be doing social media anyways.
Yeah,
that's me. That's me saying, as someone who wants this man to return to his family and have no charges, brother, you shouldn't be on social media anyways at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope you get the Kyle Rittenhouse treatment, and we'll see you with the new True Texas Project.
But Sean, is that a legal judgment that you're giving, or is that friendly advice that you're giving?
That is friendly advice.
Yeah, and that's the distinction that needs to be made here.
Sure,
the judge has no business telling him that he can't make social media posts while the case is ongoing. If the judge wants to say you can't discuss the case, that's different than saying you can't make social media posts. And I mean, he's not even out of jail yet, and they've taken away his phone privileges. So, I mean, at least once. I mean, I don't know that phone privilege loss is ongoing, but this is not good.
If I could kind of go back to something you had said earlier, you mentioned that these people, being, the kind of people who attack Chud, they really have nothing to lose. They're just kind of seat of their pants.
They're living 5 minutes at a time anyway.
Right. Some might say the man that they will be 10 minutes from now is a stranger, and they don't care about his livelihood. They only care about living in the now, man. But Chud is a father. Mm-hmm. And I haven't looked into it, but I would imagine a husband. Like, it's like a legit.
They are not married.
No? Okay.
But they are living together. So, I mean, depends on how long they've been together as to whether or not that's a common law marriage. But Chud, put a ring on it. Come on, dude.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I do have to say, like, I'm fairly liberal with the definitions of, like you were saying, a common law marriage.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
If you're living with the woman and you've impregnated her, you're married, dude. Like,
I mean, if you're
have that conversation
both of your
with the
names
government
are on the rental, and you have co-signed for a car loan, and you have a child together, newsflash, Muppet newsflash, you're married.
And and I would go as far as to say that in the eyes of God, if you leave that woman, you are guilty of
divorcing her. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's maybe, I don't know if that's more liberal or conservative than what ought to be. I don't know, but that's just kind of where I stand on that. Is that so? Anyways, the man has a family, regardless of how you define.
Yeah, he's a family man. He is.
Yeah. So he has everything to lose, and I understand when people are saying, like, dude, why were you doing this? Like, you got this kid you got to look after, you got this woman you got to protect and care for and provide for. Why were you out here doing it? And he was just saying, like, I shouldn't have to worry about this, and you shouldn't have to worry about this, and no one else is doing anything about it, so I'm going to do what little bit I can. Mm-hmm. And I respect the hell out of that, dude. Like, so that's why I say, like, I'm in his corner. Not exactly the way I would have tackled it, but I'm not the man in the arena, right? That's so important in all of these discussions. The man in the arena is going to get all the criticism, all that kind of stuff. But you know what? We're out in the bleachers watching what he's doing. He's out there doing something, right? We were getting criticism this week about how we're stupid people, and some guy watched previous episodes, right? It's an anonymous account with like 7 followers, one of which is Eli McGowan, and another of which
obviously
is
just an Eli alt.
There's got to be something like that going on. Because like I said, the other one's Presbycast that is a known
Mhm.
one, and it's only got 7 followers. Come on, dude. That's suspect as all get out. But my point being, this is just some anonymous account criticizing what we're trying to do, right? So I don't have any right to criticize what Chud is doing. That's kind of my point. Anything I say where it's like, well, I'm like maybe this would be smart, whatever. It's his call, but I would recommend that at this point he try to consider, which I'm sure he is, the family that he has back home that he has to care for. I would recommend that our followers not get themselves in those
friendly
kind of
advice.
kerfuffles.
Don't get into these kind of altercations.
Yeah.
Like I said in last week's episode, ignore. Don't look them in the eyes, look the other way and walk away, but don't turn your back to them, but don't engage. Because treat them like an unpredictable wild animal. Okay.
You know
and
what's
I know
funny?
people are going to hear that and they're going to say, oh, that's so evil and racist of you, but you treat wild creatures the same way. And if somebody, I don't care what race they are, it could be a white guy. If somebody is trying to create an altercation with you, you ignore and create distance, but don't turn your back. Because that's how you treat wild animals. And these people are acting like wild animals. Red and yellow, black and white, doesn't matter. If they're acting like that, that's how you treat them. You back away and prudentially arm yourself before such a thing happens so that you have an out. A worst comes to worst, you have a, stay alive card, not a get out of jail free card, because you will go to jail, but at least you lived. And
there's a meme. You know how black people love talking about like white folks do this thing, and it's like some help. It's like some like harmless, wholesome thing. Well, like this meme was, it was a picture of a guy making a face, and it said like basically like this is the face white people make when they walk by you, and it was this basically like that kind of like flat. You know what I'm talking about because you do it, I do it. So the question that I have is like, why do we do that? Well, I think I have the answer is because we know that we're supposed to be polite to people, but at the same time, we're like, I really don't want to smile. I don't want to make eye contact with this guy. I don't want to smile at this guy. So that's why black people are like, why do white people always go like this? Well, because it's you. I would smile if I passed by Jeff or give him, like a little. Actually, you know what I found in my old age? I do instead of when I was younger, I used to do a lot of like this. Now I do a lot of that.
Yeah.
I go down now. I
my
noticed
dad,
even like
my
kids,
dad always
like,
did the downward nod. And so
Yeah.
I always did the downward nod. And then I was running into people that were doing the upward nod. And I was like, what is that? Is that like an invitation? Is that like, hey, let's chat? Like, what is that? But I figured out when they're doing this, it's the same thing as when I'm doing that. So, just a cultural thing. I mean, when I went to India, there was a lot of with the mouth opening, everything. It was like if what we do for the downward nod, they would do the just mouth open and tilt it to the side. It's like, hi. But they weren't voicing anything. It was just very, very interesting cultural nods. Very, very bizarre stuff.
I want them all out of my country.
Yes. Let them do their Indian head nods in India. But with that being said, let's get back to the next part of this Chud the Builder thing. Jacob Lang, January 6th political prisoner, got arrested at the Chud the Builder hearing. So here's an update from him. I went to show support at Chud the Builder's $1.25 million bond hearing and was arrested and thrown in the maximum he could sentence me to of 10 days in solitary confinement by the judge. Here's how it happened. I was sitting next to Chud's wonderful and soft-spoken fiancée when she whispered, "I loved you" to Chud, and for that was kicked out of the courtroom. Moments later, I was nodding my head in agreement to a video of Chud during an interview when the bailiff demanded I leave the courtroom as well. I stood up and calmly exited and said in a normal speaking tone, "This is two-tiered justice. I am now inside of Montgomery County Jail starving for 2 days because they're refusing to give me a kosher diet." Okay. I was also told by Sergeant Hawley today that my request for kosher diet was denied and that I would be put. All right, this is a third party. I was also told by Sergeant Hawley today that my request for kosher diet was denied and he would be put on suicide watch if I refused to eat, which is basically naked torture in a cell alone for 10 days. So if you refuse to eat, you're going to be, all your clothes are going to be taken off and you're going to be put in a padded room. They also are saying they're going to move me in with a roommate in solitary tonight, but that would not give me any other details on who they would be putting me with. So that's another way of torturing people is put them with somebody who will kill them. Correctional officers have been known to do this kind of thing. I showed up to Chud's hearing because I know what it's like to turn around in a courtroom where your life is on the line and see nobody but your mother and father. I wanted to make sure Chud did not go through the same pain I had to for 4 years and 6 days as a January 6th political prisoner. I stood up and said something because that's what righteous men do. All it takes for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. Not me. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Free Chud. And it goes on. As I was on the phone with Jake yesterday, this is the third party part, getting this message from him, he was yelling in his cell, begging to be fed and saying how hungry he was. Seconds later, Supervisor Black and another man went in his cell, said he's coming with them, put him in handcuffs, and took him away. I have not heard from him for 24 hours because they have taken away his phone privileges because he was begging for food. I have the entire thing on recording. It is disturbing and sickening. I've called the jail dozens of times yesterday and was told they refused to tell me where he was taken and will not let me speak to him. Every single lieutenant, supervisor, etc. I've spoken to yesterday, today, have all given me different stories than the next and continuously lie to cover up what they're doing. These people are evil and sick. I have them all recorded. So, yeah, here's the video. And you can see he's not screaming. All right.
All right. Take him into custody. Justice. All right. Take him into custody.
So as he's walking out the door, he just says, "This is two-tiered justice." Just in a normal speaking voice. He's not screaming at the judge. He's not even facing the judge. And the judge says, "Okay, throw him in solitary for 10 days, which is the most he can possibly do to him. Not throw him out. Not, this is a disturbance. You should be ashamed of yourself. Not even, okay, throw him in the clink overnight for being rude. 10 days in solitary for that. Meanwhile, I have seen videos of courtrooms where black people are chimping out and screaming at the judge, and he just has them excluded from the room and then carries on business as usual. Apologizes to the jury, apologizes to the defendant. "Oh, we're so sorry about the interruption. Please continue." Meanwhile, this guy's walking out just in a normal voice, says this is two-tiered justice, and he gets 10 days in solitary. Do you think if he was a black man that this would have been different? Do I even need to ask? Yeah. Dishonest weights and measurements the Lord detests. God hates what we are doing in this country. God hates this country, the way that it is being run. And if we don't fix it, we're going to come under his wrath, and that's not a good thing. So just some continuing development. Been ordered Chud the Builder is not allowed to use his Give, Send, Go donations toward his $1.25 million bond. He will remain in jail till he's able to secure this amount through another source, which means every donation will have been wasted until further notice. So here's this guy saying, not true. They are having a source hearing regarding the Give, Send, Go funds, but they have not ruled on it. So disagreement about what's going on. Dom Lucre is not exactly a trustworthy source, whereas this guy here, like I said before, this archetype theory, he seems to be on the ball. So Uncle Buckus just saying, that must be that white privilege I keep hearing about. Yeah. And a good old meme that we all remember. So,
dude, I remember being in the conversation about when White Boy Summer should start. And I remember it being earlier than Memorial Day, which is when I said it should start, but after my anniversary. So I don't remember what exactly, if it was like the Monday before Memorial Day or how that, I don't know. But when I saw Swolus put it out, I was like, okay, well, I guess that's about as official as it gets, is Swolus just making a meme. Okay, yeah, I guess it's White Boy Summer now. Let's do it.
yeah. But first day of summer is on June 21st, which is a Sunday.
Yeah, but that's
so
not...
we should probably do a White Boy Summer show on June 21st. Yeah.
That's just the solstice, though, because economic summer begins this weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend is the beginning of economic summer. Yeah.
I mean, that's when school lets out. I mean, that's and they call it summer break. But all the schools around me, I don't know what they're like in Fort Worth. Well, it should be the same.
I know. I know we've wanted to just get a bunch of people on just a giant stream and do a White Boy Summer stream. So if you or a loved one would like to be part of the White Boy Summer stream, call the Maury Show.
if you or a loved one would like to have mesothelioma.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we're not real sure about what's going on here with the Give, Send, Go stuff. But we do know, here's Paul Miller, who's a hilarious guy. Again, speaking of people who are standing up for free speech and doing so in ways that I would not necessarily recommend, but yet I still support. Paul Miller, very good guy. He says, my sponsor Duel is actively trying to bail Chud out. They have the $1 million ready to go, and they're just waiting for payment instructions through their lawyers. I can't put into words how grateful I will be if they can make this happen. I'm very proud to work with Duel. And so Duel is a gambling website, which I don't recommend using. All right. I don't have really a problem with friendly wagers, but when you're betting on a website, I mean, it's too impersonal. It's too easily to get addicted. And I just really don't like it. I really have a problem with it. But Duel seems to be on our side of a lot of issues. They're sponsoring a lot of right-wing people, but I still don't like it. Still not happy about it. But they came out and said that they're willing to pay Chud's bail. And this is part of the problem, is that they being the Tennessee court, do not want Chud's bail to be paid. That's why they made it so high. And if you've got a big company, a company that sponsors, among others, Paul Miller, as well as Lord Miles, if they come out and they sponsor him, this company that is known to sponsor racist right-wing guys, YouTube and Twitter bios, well, they're not going to be very happy about that. The thing is, if the Black Panthers came out and paid the bail of some black murderer, do you think that they would have a problem with that? Probably not. Well, maybe if they're prescribed as a terrorist organization, they might have a problem with that because it'd be technically illegal. But what if it's just some black activist website? Some fully legitimate black activist website, not a terrorist organization, not, terroristic threats, nothing like that. And they're just like, hey, we want to pay DeCarlos Brown Jr.'s, we want to pay his bail for him so that he can spend time with his family while the case is ongoing. Would they step in and say, oh, we've got to investigate this, we've got to prevent this from happening? Do you think for 1 second that would ever happen? Obviously not. Obviously not. And that is the unjust weights and measures that we're talking about. So all this to say, is still very much up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen. Will he be allowed to post bail? Will he be allowed to go home and see his wife and child? The judge threw his wife out of the courtroom because she whispered, "I love you," to him during the proceedings. Do you think a judge like that is going to ever let him out on bail? I don't. So pray for Chud. Follow this story on Twitter. Follow the guy, follow this archetype theory guy on Twitter. Share this with your friends. And I would say a very important thing, too, is talk about this with your boomer parents. Talk about how it's a First Amendment thing. Yeah, you don't agree with what he did, but it's not illegal. He was attacked without being provocative. This guy hunted him down. Tell your boomer parents about what happened here so that they understand the case as it is, cut and dry. Because we need the people on the ground to support this. We need to bring an end to the racial two-tier justice going on in our country today. So with that said, let's get into some comments before we hit some more two-tier justice. Just some examples that I want to close out the show with. Yellow Moss says, Bronca said that he took a bladed stance is the new he crossed state lines. Yeah, exactly. It's not illegal to cross state lines. It's not illegal to take a bladed stance, but they're going to turn it to the inverse of the if the glove doesn't fit thing, where it's like, oh, well, you have to find him guilty because he took a bladed stance. You have to find him guilty because he crossed state lines.
What else needs to be brought in? Another parallel case is the I'm losing the name. Not Charleston. What was the Virginia place that Charlottesville? That's what it was. The Charlottesville guy that ran over the fat chick.
James Fields.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Their whole case, like the judge threw out something that would have completely made him not guilty.
Exonerated.
And then said that his social media was relevant to the thing. So basically they just pulled up his social media and they said, you are guilty by reason of you post bad guy stuff on social media. Mm-hmm. So therefore
not even stuff relevant to the case, but just like,
right.
Maybe Hitler was misunderstood as a post. And it's like, you said that, therefore you obviously ran over this girl with your car.
Yeah. Consider that when thinking about how's this Chud case going to go? Well, I want to be optimistic. I could see why he might not be optimistic because he knows that what he did was provocative because that was his weapon. Mm-hmm. Being provocative was his weapon, showing people, I'm not afraid of your magic word. And I'm going to use it because it describes what you're doing right now. That was the... Man, Jeff, it looks like you're doing lines or something, dude. Like, you're like, hold on, let me read some lines real quick.
Yeah, keep muting the microphone. I've got some kind of
go for it,
sinus infection, but
I've been mucusy myself. So I'm not super optimistic about it. He's a political prisoner, and they're going to use him as an example of. Don't you go saying the curse word. I said something on Twitter today where someone had made the comment, America only has one swear word. And I said, no, America has one curse word because it not only describes the curse that America has, but you will have an additional curse put on you if someone accuses you of using that curse word.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do not be associated with the magic word.
Yep. Well, let's get back into comments here.
Go for it.
Yellow Moss says 2 ovens. This has been historical German math with Sean Russell.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Yeah, with 2 ovens, you could only do 3 million. That's how that works, right? Reasonable Thinker says, "Night boys, I am out. Good content." Yeah, catch us on the Monday ride to work, man, or in this case, the Tuesday ride to work, or the Monday ride to your favorite fishing spot. But
there you go.
Yeah, we'll catch you later. Thanks for being here. John C. Barsum says, guys, before I can donate a single dollar to Chud, I've got to know if any of his ancestors could possibly have been Yankees. Yeah.
Boy, you just won't let that grudge go, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
just let it go.
I understand. There's some people on our side who spurg out and they're like, oh no, you know, purity, one drop
Yeah.
of blood test. And we're not talking about race here. We're talking about Yankees.
Yeah. I like that joke though. I like saying that I'm in an interracial marriage.
It is funny.
I'm in an interracial marriage. My wife's a Yankee. Come on, man.
Yeah. And like one famous Confederate said, you know, God loves the Negro, but he hates the Yankee. So
what was that? Forrest?
I don't remember which one. That's why I said like one famous Confederate.
Yeah.
It does sound like Forrest. It very well may have been. But anyway, Yellow Moth raises a very good question. He says, what even is a Yankee? Anyone from the North? Yeah, and Yankee is as Yankee does, is what I would say. There's some people who born and raised in Texas who are absolutely Yankees, and there's some people in Maine who are not. You know, good old Maine boys who've been lumberjacks and Second Amendment lovers and lovers of their country, and they're not Yankees. But that's only because I use Yankee as a disparaging word. If I'm in the UK, I'm a Yankee because Yankee is anybody from the United States. So it's all case dependent. But Yellow Moss says, we smiled and nod because Japheth did it when he saw people on the street. Is that where that comes from?
When he saw the other, like, 5 people on planet Earth walking down the street.
They give him a nod. Yellow Moth, I think Jake Lang is a subversive. He's half Jewish, and he sure gets away with saying and doing things that white people wouldn't get away with. Oh, yeah, he you know, dude, I have a Twitter post about this. Or actually, it's a Facebook post about this. And I'm going to pull it up because I just feel like this is relevant. But, yeah, I mean, Jacob Lang, he's half Jewish, and he gets away with stuff. That's why he's in solitary confinement right now. That's why he got arrested. You know, because here we go. Here's my response to that. All opposition is controlled opposition and other stories to tell yourself that excuse your backbiting behavior. Guys, we're going to have to get over this whole, he's controlled opposition. He's a subversive. He's a secret Fed. If you want to actually make progress, you're going to have to build coalitions with people whom you find distasteful every once in a while. And it's like Sean was saying earlier in this show, what the Apostle Paul said about people preaching the gospel. Some of them preach it out of, you know, anger and strife.
Malice or something. Yeah.
Malice and strife. Yeah, something like that, right? But the gospel is still preached. All right, if you think Jacob Lang is, you know, half Jewish and therefore subversive or whatever, he's doing the right thing. He's going there and supporting Chud. All right? He's doing the right thing. Whether you like him or not, he's doing the right thing. Good example of this is Alex Stein. I don't care for Alex. Maybe not as a person. I've had one interaction with him, and it was not pleasant, but I didn't really get to know him. He was protesting a thing that I was at. And I called security on him, and I had him thrown out. So we did not have a pleasant interaction. If we had been somewhere, you know, having a drink together, maybe we would have had a pleasant interaction. I don't know. But I don't see Alex Stein as, you know, necessarily a bad guy because of the one unpleasant interaction we had. You know, I don't look at him as being, you know, controlled opposition or he's a secret Fed or anything like that. I can understand that I can make common cause with people when we agree, and I can oppose them when we don't. And that's what real life is. Jacob Lang is doing good stuff, and I will support him when he does. Anyhow, continuing on, Yellow Moss says, I saw a picture of a bunch of El Salvador judges in prison. It was beautiful. Yeah, El Salvador knows how to do this. You know, you catch all the people who have been taking bribes and letting out prisoners, letting out murderers and putting them on the street, and you say, okay, you're going to jail now. You let prisoners out on the street, you're going to jail. And, you know, if we started doing that, maybe we wouldn't have these kind of problems. And Danny Man01 says, it's that purity spiral, insufferable bend on the right. It is getting exhausting. Yeah. And we addressed that. We addressed that. But yeah, thank you, Danny Man, for posting.
I think when you're the persecuted side of something, like whether through propaganda or whatever, you'll tend to be you're kind of like leery of anyone who sounds like the guys who are persecuting you. So I kind of get it. I agree it's exhausting though. Unless someone's like directly attacking you, you should probably give them some grace. Yeah, a little best construction and move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, well, let's get back into the subject. I said we would have some more examples. I mean, so far we've just covered Chud in his case. Some of these are going to be disturbing. You know, if you have kids listening, maybe don't. Just in general, if you have kids listening to this show, maybe don't.
Yeah, I was going to say,
this is not a kids
what kind
show.
Of parents are you?
Every time I upload one of these to
CPS.
YouTube asks me, "Is this video made for kids?" And I check the box that says, "No, this video was not made for kids." Because guess what? This video is not made for kids. All right. We do not make a kids program. This is not a kids program. We intentionally make this for adult white men. All right. And we're not afraid to say this show is meant for adult white men. That's not to say that women can't watch. That's not to say that if you're not white, you can't watch. But if you're a kid, maybe don't watch. Okay? Maybe don't watch. But let's get into this. So, how about, speaking of updates, how about an update on the DeCarlos Brown Jr. case? You know, the guy who murdered Irania Zarutska on a train, just stabbed her multiple times in the neck, and then said, "I got that white bitch," as he's walking out of the train, and it says, "She called me a N-word," which she did not do. You know, she sat in front of him, and then he just immediately, you see the devil in his features. He just lights up, and he starts playing with his knife. He's like, oh, yeah, look at this defenseless white woman, this frail, skinny white woman who sat down right in front of me. I'm going to murder her. And he did. And there was nobody there to stop him. And even after he did it, there was nobody there that did anything about it. Because there was a bunch of black people who just walked away, pretended like they didn't see anything.
They sat there and watched her, dude.
They sat there and watched her bleed out.
It was so bug, man, because this picture right here, this still from the video, that's after he stabbed her.
Yep.
Like, so she was, it wasn't like she got like one-shotted and then was just out. She sat there like contemplating what was going on.
Yep.
And
she
the
sat
people
there bleeding out for
in that
minutes,
video,
and nobody helped her.
Yeah, they just didn't care.
Yep. Federal prosecutors say the murder case against the man who killed Irania Zarutska will not be dismissed regardless of a competency ruling. A Bureau of Prisons evaluation concluded DeCarlos Dejon Brown Jr. is not competent to stand trial at this time. Federal officials said the evaluation also found Brown could likely be restored to competency with treatment. So we're going to treat him for his mental illness, and then when he's fine, we're going to let him out. That's what that means, guys. The wording there is a little curious because it sounds like what they're saying is that he's being held until he's competent. It's a little confusing, but here's Kevin Sorbo, his commenting on it. You know, mental illness. This career criminal with 14 priors and a 73-month armed robbery conviction was released on cashless bail, then stabbed 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee in the neck on camera while saying, "I got that white girl. We don't have to live like this." And that refrain there, we don't have to live like this.
Yeah.
Guys,
Kevin Sorbo
that's the
is,
thing.
Kevin Sorbo's pushing at me. He's
pretty
for it.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And I was confused. So I just asked Google. Yes, DeCarlos Brown Jr. is currently in federal custody. He's being held by the U.S. Marshal Service because the incident occurred on a federally funded public transportation system. He faces a federal indictment for violence against a mass transportation system resulting in death. Violence against a mass transportation system resulting in death. How about premeditated murder?
Yeah.
How about premeditated murder? In May of 2026, federal medical examiners determined he was incompetent to stand trial. This followed a state-level psychiatric evaluation that similarly found him incapable to proceed on his state first-degree murder charges. So I think what's going on is the state charged him with first-degree murder, and then they found him incompetent to stand trial and just dismissed charges. Which, incapable to proceed means dismiss charges. All right, you're not being held, you're not being jailed, nothing. All right. Whereas the U.S. Marshal Service is maintaining him in their jurisdiction, and they're not letting him go. Due to the federal finding, prosecutors are seeking a new hearing to evaluate his mental state. If his incompetence is reaffirmed, he will be transferred to a secure federal facility for psychiatric treatment aimed at restoring his mental competency. Meanwhile, his state-level proceedings and death penalty hearings have been postponed. So, yeah, we are not going to see justice at all, ever. It is not going to happen.
Yeah, so, we have to get rid of the competency, the way that we address competency. The way we should look at it is this guy is not competent to stand trial. Therefore, it's obvious that death. I mean, if you can't stand trial for the murder you committed, death.
Yeah,
right there.
If you are not capable of knowing that you murdered somebody, you are still guilty of murdering them, and you should be put to death.
You have to be removed from the society. I think that's the part that's not being understood. Like when you look at some of the details in God's law, the purpose is not, oh, we're gonna restore this man back to the community. It's a matter of we have to remove this from the camp because if we don't, then it will infect the camp and everyone will suffer for it. Possibly everyone will die.
What does the Noahic law say? What does the Mosaic law repeat? What does all 5 books of the law say verbatim? If you shed man's blood, by man shall your blood be shed. That's the only law that is repeated.
That next part is important. For man was made in the image of God.
For man,
that's at least in the Genesis part. Yeah. So there's reasoning behind it. The reason that you kill murderers is because man was made in the image of God. So for everyone tries to argue, oh, I'm so pro-life, I'm against the death penalty. Well, then you're against what the Bible subscribes for people made in the image of God.
Yeah. Are you wiser than God? I mean, that's what you're saying. When you say I'm so pro-life, I'm against the death penalty. I'm such a good Christian, I'm against the death penalty. Talking to you, Catholics. Talking to you, Pope. What you're saying is I am wiser than God. And I don't want to be you on Judgment Day. But black guy murders white girl says, got that white girl. Labeled too insane to stand trial, not labeled a hate crime.
Crazy.
Chud calls man a word. The man charges at him and starts assaulting him. Chud uses self-defense. Charged with attempted murder, labeled a hate crime. Notice Chud did not call this man a word. Chud had a history of saying the word in videos, but even in the affidavit, it is not alleged that he aggressed the man, that he called him anything. That's not even part of the argument. So yeah, really puts things in perspective here. Two-tier justice. Two-tier justice indeed. Here's a story most Americans haven't heard about, or if they did hear about it, they saw it from Elon Musk. He retweeted Inevitable West, who is a retarded Indian, so don't follow him. Elon Musk said, "This boy was running away from someone who stabbed him and stole his phone, but the police in the UK attacked him instead of his murderer." Here's a picture of him. I saw this guy, and my reaction was, dude, that looks like a Utah Mormon. I mean, it's like whitest whites, right? But what is the story here? Well, here we go. This is from Southampton Times. Transcripts from the night were read out by the prosecution, in which Henry Nowak, that was the boy who was stabbed, is heard saying, "I am dying," and Digwa, there's a clue, we call that a clue, Digwa replies, "You're not dying, bro." Continuing, the prosecution said that about 10 minutes later, Mr. Nowak said, "You stabbed me," and Digwa replied, "No, I didn't," and said, "You started recording me thinking you're sick." The court then saw a brief image from a video that Digwa took of Mr. Nowak. The prosecution asked the defendant, "He's lying on the floor saying he was dying, and you made a video of his face. Why?" To which Digwa replied, "I don't know why." When police were called to the scene, the prosecution said Digwa repeated that Nowak was pretending. Before the jury, Digwa said, "I thought that he was pretending to be in a worse condition than he was." So, what happened here? Nowak was walking home at night, or on a summer evening, on a spring evening, and he was accosted by a Sikh, which is an Indian, if you couldn't tell by the accent that I was appropriately conveying. The Sikh had a 21 centimeter knife. All right, now we're Americans. All right, so we don't know what that is, but 21 centimeters is 8 inches.
Wait, you said it was a 21 centimeter knife?
Yeah, a 21 centimeter bladed knife. He's got an 8-inch knife.
What that could have been is Sikhs, as part of their religion, have to essentially carry a knife on them, and they have it like wrapped up in a thing. I want to say around a belt or something like that,
on their wrist, I believe.
Yeah, I forget where it is, but I remember learning about how like children going into elementary school were allowed to carry these knives because but they were like, "Oh, it's contained. It's really just symbolic and whatever." Well, it's a knife.
It's a knife.
At the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's a knife. So
all right, keep in mind, if you are a white person in the UK and you are stopped by the Metropolitan Police carrying a knife, you will go to jail. Meanwhile, Sikhs carry these things every single day, and they're allowed to because it's a ceremonial religious knife. So they don't have the Second Amendment in the UK. They're not allowed to carry knives. But if you're a Sikh, you're allowed to carry a knife. If you're white, if you're an Englishman, if you're a Saxon, you're not allowed to carry a knife. But if you're a Sikh, you can carry a knife. You can carry an 8-inch knife, not this little tiny thing we're seeing over here. All right. You can carry a giant knife around in the UK because you are a special minority. Okay. That's what happened. This guy got into some kind of altercation with a Sikh, and the Sikh stabbed him in the heart and then cut him in the back of his legs as he was trying to run away. The police responded, showed up, and then Digwa told the police, "He called me a racial slur." Didn't even specify what racial slur. You know, did he call him a street pooper? Did he call him a brown noser? What did he call him? You know, but The police showed up and they handcuffed the white man who's lying on the ground, bleeding out, drowning in his own blood. And you can see in this picture here, he's got that knife on him right there. The police show up and they handcuff the dying white man while the Indian in England tells them, oh yeah, he called me a racial slur. And then his mother and father and brother show up. His mom takes his knife and hides it. And his dad says to him, to the man on the ground, oh, you're drunk. You're drunk. Get up and walk away. And the brother says, oh yeah, he called him a racial slur. I was here. I saw it. The police refused to release Henry Nowak's chilling Snapchat and body cam footage. So the police have cameras on. They're refusing to release it. His final moments hidden from the public amid trial. Henry bled out and died in handcuffs. So is that just the way that the police handle things in the UK? Is that just what happens? Well, maybe. Maybe they're just really, really cagey with things like that. You know, maybe they just don't share things like that. Except for, and I thought I had a link for it, but I'm not finding it now. So you're just going to have to take my word, guys. Except for a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point, there was a stabbing in which 2 Jewish guys were stabbed by a Muslim. Nobody died, but a Muslim went on a stabbing spree, as they're wont to do. And he stabbed 2 Jewish guys, and the video footage of the stabbing, which the Muslim was recording, was released the same day. And it was used as evidence of why the Jewish communities needed more subsidies. And so they gave more money to the Jews because they were being stabbed by the Muslims that they brought to the country. Yes, I'm not joking. The first mosque in the UK was built by a Jewish man. So because their toys, their pets, have turned on them and are attacking them, therefore they deserve to get more handouts from the British people whom they oppress, whom they lord over. How does this make sense? This is two-tier justice. Oh, well, you know, we got stabbed and didn't die from it, so we're going to use the footage as scaremongering in order to receive more handouts, to get more money. Oh, you got stabbed by one of our pets that we brought to your country. We're going to hide that from you. We're going to gaslight you. We're going to lie about what's going on. No, this is sick. This is unequal weights and measures. This is racial injustice. Jared Taylor, follow him on Twitter, says, sometimes I wonder if white people even deserve to survive. Nature doesn't care if we don't care. Race of perps not specified, but I have my suspicions. News article, 3 teenage boys who filmed themselves raping 2 teenage girls in separate attacks in Fordingbridge have all been spared jail by Judge Nicholas Rowland. They then sent the video around to multiple people. Judge Nicholas said the boys were very young and had low impulse control. Click through to the full thing there. Had low intelligence and had a limited understanding of consent. Sorry, the low impulse control was also stated. One of the victims told the court, all I want to do is die. I no longer have fear for when that comes. She described how, so this is a girl raped by these men. I have no longer fear for when that comes. Described how she felt numb and was shaking while the boys were laughing, and recorded what happened over the 90-minute ordeal. Videos of the incident were later sent around, and other people made jokes about the girl as she received messages calling her a slag. So they rape her, video record it, send it to her friends, and then they send her the video and messages calling her what in America we call a slut. All right, now a little more here. Gypsies, all right, these are not white people. Gypsies, for those of you who don't know, are Indians. They're Indians from the last couple centuries, but they're Indians. Gypsy travelers commit premeditated gang rape of a child. Keep in mind, this girl was not yet 18. Actually, I believe she was not yet 16, because the age of majority in England is lower. So they rape a child, a girl. Last 90 minutes, they film the attacks, laugh at her while they're raping her, encourage their friends to rape her, and mock the child, asking, "Why do you look sad?" They know they won't be punished, so they rape an even younger child at knife point, cutting her clothes off with knives. The child victims are left petrified and wanting to die. The judge praises the gang rapist's behavior in court. She lets them walk free, saying, "I should avoid criminalizing them unnecessarily." Gives them youth rehabilitation orders. Other gang rapists now know the activist judges have effectively decriminalized the violent gang rape of white British children. None of this is accidental. That is two-tier justice. You live in a society that wants to see your children raped and dead. What are you going to do about it? I know what I'm going to do about it. I don't let my children out of my sight. When we go out in public, I'm armed. I don't talk to minorities. When we're out in public, I ignore them and walk past, and I stand in between them and my family. Because if you don't, things like this will happen to you. Judges be like, "Yes, you raped 3 girls and staved in the head of a man who tried to stop you, but in your defense, you are unintelligent and thuggish, have no impulse control, and believe rape is a good thing, so I am releasing you back into society."
Because why not?
Because why not? Guys, you would think that's a joke, but that literally happened. That literally has happened multiple times. Templar Pilled posted, "If you wrote a novel in which a progressive state virtually legalized child rape, it would be branded ridiculous. But that is just an average day in the UK." Yeah. Yeah. So, big black pill. We still got a couple more tabs to go through. So, Sean, I'll ask you a question. Do you remember the Paris attacks in 2015 when a bunch of Muslim terrorists attacked Paris, and it was all the...
It was that the
Paris.
Eagles of Death Metal concert?
No. I don't
was a different
believe... Oh, no, yeah, it was. Eagles of Death Metal concert. Yep. So there was a third group that carried out a mass shooting and took hostages at the Eagle Death Metal concert. So if we pop over to Wikipedia, and I'll go ahead and read some of this, and you will see that this is not actually fully factual reporting that Wikipedia is doing. A series of coordinated Islamist terrorist attacks took place on Friday, 13th of November, 2015 in Paris, France, and the city's northern suburb, Saint-Denis. Beginning at 2116, 3 suicide bombers struck outside the Centre de France in Saint-Denis during an international football club and after failing to gain entry to the stadium. Another group of attackers then fired on crowded cafes and restaurants in Paris, with one of them also detonating an explosive, killing himself in the process. A third group carried out another mass shooting and took hostages at an Eagles of Death Metal concert attended by 1,500 people in the Bataclan Theater, leading to a standoff with police. The attackers were either shot or detonated suicide vests when police raided the theater. The attackers killed 130 people, including 90 at the Bataclan Theater. Another 416 people were injured, almost 100 critically. 7 of the attackers were also killed. The attacks were the deadliest in the European Union since the Madrid train bombings of 2004, and the deadliest terrorist attack in the history of France. So here's the thing, though. When you say killed 129, it kind of undersells the fact that they cut fetuses out of pregnant women, gouged out eyeballs, castrated men, and raped women with knives. This info was kept out of the media, instead focusing on the bombings that occurred. It was also kept out of the media that the terrorists had arrived through the asylum system, which had such little oversight that it somehow didn't catch a cluster of known ISIS fighters entering the country. That is a level of depravity and evil that our kind of people never even stoop to. Our bad people don't even do things that disgusting. And these are the people that they call good people in their society. They don't see this as bad. Here's another case. 4 Syrians and 1 Iraqi refugee are on trial for gang raping a 17-year-old victim while applying electric shocks to her body. Her lawyer says she no longer takes part in life and has locked herself away in her apartment. 4 Syrians and 1 Iraqi. 5 guys. Why are we importing people from these countries? Why are there any Syrians or Iraqis in Europe? Why is this allowed to happen at all? And just to show that what goes around comes around, and this is not schadenfreude at all, this is actually quite tragic. A white liberal BLM activist gets brutally murdered by the same people she was a diehard activist for. How tragic that her own white guilt and suicidal empathy was a catalyst for her demise. And the video has been removed, but I can describe to you what happened. This was removed actually while we were recording this show. Here, I'll refresh the page and see if it comes back. But no, it's gone. The video is not graphic. It just shows her. She goes into her apartment, and they've got one of the keypad locks where you have to have a fob to open the door. So she walks up, uses her fob, opens the door, and then she's inside getting her mail right inside the door, and a black guy comes up and knocks on the door. He doesn't have a key fob. She looks at him through the glass door, and then she opens it, and he walks in with her. And he later brutally murders her. And she was a BLM activist. Black guy comes up to her door, asks to get into this locked apartment. It's locked for a reason, okay? This is Chesterton's fence. Think about it logically. That key fob block is there for a reason. Oh, but I'll just open it. No problem. Mr. Black Guy off the street, I'll just open up my house to you. What could possibly go wrong? Well, you're dead. That's what could possibly go wrong. And then one last thing, and this is a lot less serious. The consequences of this are still bad. But financial options for H-1B holders. So we're importing people to take our jobs. Bloomfield Homes preferred lenders such as Donnie Walton and Janet Pruitt provide programs that typically allow H-1B holders to secure financing with competitive terms. FHA loans up to 100% financing for eligible buyers with no income restrictions. So you could be making no money and get a 100% down or a 100% financed loan with as little as 1% down payment because you're an H-1B visa holder.
But they just came here the same way your ancestors came here, and
yeah, with nothing but clothes on their back and an axe and a Bible. Lender incentives. Many preferred lenders waive junk fees, including underwriting, administration, and often assistance with closing costs or rate reductions. So they'll cover your closing costs on a house. They'll finance it 100%. You don't even have to have an income, and you only have to have 1% down payment. They will waive all of the fees. Meanwhile, if you're a white guy, this is boom badoom, posted this. He says, yes, you young Zoomer, you must save every penny for 10 years for a down payment on your home. Oh, hello, Rakesh. Here is your 1% down payment FHA loan backed by the federal government. So, and this is in response to Selenite, the rock lady, who says, if an 18-year-old saves $26 a day by eating the cheap sandwich instead of the $28 lunch mentioned, that's $9,490 a year. In 5 years, that's $7,450. If you save nothing else, that's a 20% down payment on a $230,000 home at 23. If you wait until 28, it's 94.9%. 94.9 thousand. Lady, how are you going to survive on $2 a day? You cannot afford enough calories to survive as an adult human male with $2 a day, much less have a wife and children.
Nobody is spending $28 on lunch. None of these struggling people.
Not habitually, no.
No,
I'll do that every once in a while. You know, I'll take my wife somewhere and we'll have a nice meal.
Yeah, maybe the two of you, but that's what I'm saying. Like $28 for a guy to just like go and get a cheeseburger on his lunch break. Like, dude, like the most expensive meal at McDonald's is half that. I mean, like $14. Like if you spend $14 at McDonald's, you're doing it big. Like this idea of $28 for lunch, like I don't know where these numbers come from, but they just love saying like, oh, if you just stop eating, you could afford a house in a year. Like,
yeah, and this is coming from the same boomers who say, oh, well, if you just stop eating out all the time, the same boomers who, you know, consistently show us videos of them eating at diners all the time, several times a week, driving brand new cars all the time that they bought off of their summer jobs. They got a summer job and bought a brand new top of the line car, a Cadillac, from a summer job. I can't do that. When I was in high school, a summer job didn't give me enough money to buy a used car. It's unreal. These boomers have sold out our civilization. The old have drunk the vinegar and the young's teeth have been put on edge. The Bible talks about this. Our society is cursed and God hates it. That is why these things are going on. We murder unborn children. We import foreigners. We excuse rapists and murderers because they're ethnic minorities. God hates us. And we better get our act together real fast. Because this is not going to fix itself. When Rome fell, a lot of people in the Roman Empire breathed a sigh of relief. Because things had gotten that bad. Is that what's going to happen to the United States when it falls? Are the white people finally going to be free? Are we finally going to be able to protect ourselves in public because society fell? Yeah, so it's rough out there, guys. There's a lot of bad stuff going on. And I don't have a lot of good things to say. Except that you know, speaking of our show not being made for kids, here's a comment from Lynchide. It says, you somehow turned on the settings or else YouTube flagged your videos made for kids, which disabled live chat comments and mini player.
Yeah, like it picked up that we were saying, don't let your kids watch this. And it said, oh, this is a kid's show.
I went in and had to manually disable that. I'm not sure why that happened, but yeah, that did happen. So it's kind of light on the comments, but we'll give you all some time to comment. Not real sure how that happened, but it does happen.
Yeah.
But I'll take a moment just to say there will be an after show for our father supporters. You know who you are. You know where you find the links. And next week is going to be our monthly show for the brother supporters. So if you support this show, if you'd like to support this show, great way to do that is buymeacoffee.com. Link is in the description. You can find us there. You can support our show for as little as, let's see. Let me look real quick before I say the wrong number. But it comes in 2 tiers, brother and father amount, and those memberships are $5 a month or $10 a month. For the price of a coffee, a $5 coffee, you can support this show. And
for the price of one lunch.
For the price of one lunch. Or
just go without eating.
Yeah, just don't eat anything, Yeah. And you can use the rest of that. You can use the rest of the money that you save by not eating to go for a down payment on your home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Good stuff.
You'll only have to do it for 18 years.
Yeah. But let's talk about some stuff you could do for free that would be very helpful. Subscribe, like. For some reason, it seems like we had more interaction with the like button and stuff tonight. I don't know what you did, but yeah. Follow our accounts on Twitter. That's a big one, actually. Just us being able to get stuff out there, especially if you were someone like Ethan, who is a close friend of the show and doesn't share our stuff like you should. Do that, Ethan. I'm looking at you, Ethan. No, no, but really, like every share, it's all algorithm stuff. Interact with it, all that. If we can get it out.
If you're seeing this on Twitter, even if it's a couple days later, go in there and comment. Just drop a little something in the comment and be like, "Hey, glad to see you, GM, GE, good evening, whatever you got to say." Just say a little something, because every little bit helps.
And then also supporting the channel, we have a part 2 of our special series, which you are going to be dropping Wednesday.
Yes. So Wednesday morning, we will drop part 2 of our show. And I'm going to go ahead and share this with y'all, because
we're going to be dropping the deuce, guys.
This is just too cool. For future generations, special episode on the ARP statement part 2 with Adi Schlebusch. Adi Schlebusch is the Pactum Institute. He's the guy who puts it together and runs it. And he's a great guy. He's a South African, and his speech may be a little difficult to understand, but I think it was very understandable. He was
I got through it.
He's actually very eloquent and very intelligent. I mean, he has a way of putting things that I would have to think about things for a week before I got the perfect way to put it, before I picked out the perfect words and the best syllogism, and it just rolls off of this guy like gold out of a California gold mine. I mean, this guy is just great. And he's a family man. He's a good Christian. I highly recommend him. And we did an interview because he is specifically mentioned in this show. And he's mentioned in this paper. And they accuse him of some things which are flat out false. Things that did not happen. Things that did not occur. So, it's very interesting. How did these false citations occur? Are these people just malicious? Looking at you, Glazer. Are these people malicious, or are they retarded? Or are they using AI to acquire the footnotes in this thing that they put together?
I brought up this situation to a couple of people, including my wife, and I think it was like 3 different people. All of them said, well, it was probably AI. So this whole statement could have been read. I mean, you guys got to listen to this episode. It's so crazy. I was sitting here just saying, like, I expected us to go through the statement and just kind of say, well, I disagree with them here, and this isn't what the Bible actually says, and that kind of thing. But we're only in episode 2, and we're already talking about this is a flat out lie. This link doesn't exist. You know, who wrote this? Like, was AI the one that wrote? Like, it's just so crazy what this has become. So it's really unraveling. I think episode 2 is where people are going to realize, like, oh man, there's a lot here to pick apart, and we're just beginning. So I'm very, very excited about this. I think I've listened to our part 1, whether in preparation for something or just for my own amusement. I think I've listened to it like 4 times. It's like a 2.5 hour episode. Was just like trying to get through all the definitions and crazy things that are said in this.
We spent a lot of time on that first episode to make sure that we were giving them a fair shake. And you'll hear us say multiple times, oh, well, you know, best construction.
Yeah.
You know, best, you know, if we're giving them the benefit of the doubt here of what's going on, what did they actually mean by this? What did they intend by this? And well, maybe that best construction wasn't entirely necessary, because these people are not doing this, you know, they're not doing this out of the goodness of their heart. They're not doing this to try and protect the sheep. They're doing this to protect their denomination. All right. They're doing this because they have an investment that they want to protect. And, well, they're not doing a very good job of it.
Yeah.
So
Audie himself has already gotten them to amend the statement, like in a huge way, like paragraphs worth of information they've removed or otherwise altered.
And here's a record of that. Adrian Schlebusch, that's Adi right there. He says, ARP committee under Reverend West Virginia Pitt, which is Glazer, alters report 10 days after submission to the General Synod. You should not be altering a report after it was released to the Synod. At that point, it's supposed to be a finished document. All right. Benjamin, here to defend himself, says, we fixed a footnote that's hardly altering the report, and it certainly is not slander. Making editorial corrections as needed is a necessary part of putting together a paper. We also fixed R.L. Dabney's middle name and corrected another misspelling. Things happen. Things happen. And we get into why this statement here, we fixed a footnote, it's not altering the report. That is a lie. They altered the report. They took out huge chunks of the paper. And this is categorically
watch the
false.
Episode.
The paper isn't official until the Synod adopts it.
There's a whole...
You, sir, are a liar. You, sir, are a liar, and not even a very intelligent one. So, Wednesday morning, guys, put your bookmarks in and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're following us on Twitter, follow me, follow Sean. Links to all of that can be found in the description below. We make it easy for you. We crave your attention. We covet your prayers, but we crave your attention. But let's see. With that said, we'll cut that off. It doesn't look like we've got any more comments. Hopefully, the child restriction thing got fixed, but it looks like we don't have any more comments. We'll go ahead and get out of here. And folks, if you are a Father supporter, after show will be right after this. You know where to find the links. It's in the Telegram. You've been invited. We will let you know. We will see you then. The rest of you, go to bed, because tomorrow is a day that God has prepared for you to have fun in, because it's a federal holiday.
That's right.
So go get some rest. Spend some time with your family. Go barbecue out on the lake shore somewhere. Go do some good American things. And folks, don't forget, in all that you do, trust in the Lord. Have faith. It's been a bit of a depressing show. Bad stuff has been happening to good people. And worse things have happened to better people than you. So let that be the motivation for you to do better. Go and create amazing things this week. Go conquer. Go fight. Go win. And with that said, folks, have a great night and God bless.